Hello, and welcome to the Franchising Matters video series brought to you by Reshift Media. My name is Steve Bures, and I'll be your host for today. Today, I'm joined by Jen McDonnell and Brad Abbott. Brad's a vice president of search at Reshift Media, and with over a decade of experience in search engine advertising and search engine optimization, Brad's established himself as an indispensable partner in elevating the online presence of some of North America's fastest growing franchise companies. Jen's vice president of social media and content at Reshift Media and has over 2 decades of experience in the digital space. Jen started her career in online journalism before transitioning to social media marketing and has recently been recognized by PR Daily as one of the top women in marketing. Welcome, Jen and Brad.
Good to be here.
So, topic for today is to talk about franchise development and what you're seeing from a digital marketing perspective. So, I thought I would open with a nice broad question. So, to whoever feels like jumping in on this one, what makes digital marketing a good strategy for franchise lead generation?
Well, from a search perspective, it's all about intent. So utilizing search advertising captures leads at the moment that they expressed interest, right? So if somebody is looking to become a potential franchisee, we're going to capture that lead then and there.
Yeah, I think that's right. And then I think for social, it's really easy to pick your spots. So you can, when there's a lot of franchise interest, you can turn on that campaign really quickly, and you can also pivot really quickly. So the thing with social, it's very easy to change. If something's not working, you can always just make some quick changes, whether it's creative or targeting or anything like that.
That's great. And
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Brad.
From a targeting perspective, there's all kinds of ways to reach the right audience using digital. So that's good there.
And it's also very cost effective compared to some of the other platforms and other things you can do. Digital marketing, very cost effective. And also the measurement is pretty incredible. A lot of times Brad and I are both running franchise ads. So there's a search and a social component to the campaigns. And we can say this lead came from a search ad or a social ad, and then the client can tell us how far along that lead is in the franchising process. So the measurement is very direct.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so measurements, cost, sounds pretty good. So let's talk a bit about what you're seeing this year. So 2023 has been a little bit of an interesting year all around from an economic perspective. So how have you been seeing how franchisee acquisition has gone in 2023 from a digital marketing perspective?
From a search point of view, the last couple of years, 2021, 2022, were just record years. So we have seen a little bit of a decline in the overall search volume in 2023. But there has been an uptick over the last couple of months, which is very encouraging heading into the fall.
Yeah, I'd say the same with social. Like Brad said, we're coming off a high of some incredible years. And then beginning of last year and then this year for sure, definitely more challenging. Especially on the social side, we're having a little bit more difficulty with targeting. So there's a lot of privacy issues. On Meta specifically, franchise ads tend to have to go under the special ad category, and that's even more restricted targeting. So it's a bit of a challenge. It's been a bit of a challenge in 2023, but we are seeing quite a bit of improvements over the last few months.
And how has the costing been trending in 2023? Are you finding this year is the same as previous years from a cost per lead, or has it been a little higher?
So in regards to cost per click, we've seen consistent increases throughout 2023 for franchise keywords, which is expected. It's based on supply and demand, and a lot of systems are advertising and trying to get new franchisees. The cost per lead, we're also seeing pretty much staying in line with that overall cost per click as well. So if we have a higher cost per click, typically the overall cost per lead is higher as well.
Yeah, agreed. We have seen some clients that have had actually a cheaper cost per lead. I think that's more to do with some strategy changes we've made rather than the platform itself.
Well, and Brad, you touched on something interesting there. So competition. So as we all know, it's getting harder and harder to find qualified franchisees. So have you seen an increase in competition online in the last year or two?
100%. there's been a huge spike in the competition that's advertising for broad keywords and even more niche keywords specific to individual franchise industries. There's a lot of competition.
And Jen, have you seen the same on the social perspective?
Yeah, it's a little harder to track competition on social, but using things like Meta Ads Library and TikTok's ad library, we can see what other people are running. We are seeing a lot more franchise ads running this year for sure.
Oh, makes sense, particularly given that, as you said, it's lower cost, higher effectiveness, able to target. It makes sense that franchise systems are going in that general direction. So where are you seeing franchise systems have success then? So if competition's up and cost is up, what are some of the strategies you've seen that have been working? Maybe we'll start with Jen on this one.
Oh, sure. Typically, we've always tended to drive franchise ads towards a dedicated landing page, and that there's still places to do that. And I think that it's still a really good strategy. But in 2023, we've really, on the social side, really leaned heavily into lead ads. So those are the ads on either LinkedIn or Meta where you fill out your form right on that platform. You don't go off to another website. We used to do this a few years ago, and we always found that it was not very effective. And we just tried it again this year, and we're actually finding great success with it. So the one issue I would say is that you get a lot of quantity, not necessarily quality. But there are ways that you can certainly mitigate that. So, adding when you're creating your form, there's something called higher intent on Meta, which you definitely want to do. You want to make it very, very, very clear that it's not a job opportunity, it's a franchise opportunity. You want to really make it clear what the investment level is. So we usually have a drop down of like, what resources are you looking to invest? And then you add more questions. Like the more questions you add, you will have a bit of a drop off, but you will get more qualified as well. And we also really recommend that you don't really do a lot of the autofill. So Facebook knows everything and knows your email address and your phone number. It's good to have at least one of those things be physically typed out so that people have to use their brains and that they're actually a pretty qualified lead. And then the other thing that we've been having, I think, a lot of success on the social side is really playing with creatives. And on Meta in particular, we've always been told for years and years, don't put text on your images. And this year we've kind of ignored that rule, and it actually is working. So especially with franchise ads, like doing things like franchise opportunities, big text overlay, or be your own boss, really eye-catching, really seems to be working, and also really great at describing exactly what that ad is in a very, very short amount of time so that people are not confused and know exactly what they're clicking on.
You've mentioned Meta a few times there, Jen. Do you find that it's more Facebook or more Instagram or a bit of both?
It tends to optimize more to Facebook unless we specifically put budget towards Instagram. We have found that depending on what kind of demo people are looking for, we have found that Instagram can be quite great, but we do tend to optimize a bit more on Facebook for sure.
And what do you think of LinkedIn this year? Anything you've seen that's different from past years?
We've actually pulled back a bit on LinkedIn for a lot of our clients. It's just very, very expensive. There is still a place for LinkedIn. I think especially if you're doing more of a B2B advertising opportunity, it just seems to be a lot more expensive and not necessarily as qualified as we used to see in the past compared to Meta. So I think it's still really a good thing to have in your mix, but we're certainly not leaning on it as much as we have been in past years.
And last one before, I haven't forgotten about you, Brad. Last one before we get back to Brad is everyone's talking about TikTok and just the growth of TikTok. Are you finding there's any role for TikTok from a franchise development perspective?
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of franchisee you're looking for. It is still pretty young, but young isn't what it used to be. Yeah, it's not teenagers. But it is, it is Gen Z, and it's also millennials as well. So if you're looking for, franchisees who are in the 35 to 44 range, I think that there's definitely a place for TikTok. It's certainly also becoming the search engine. There are generations below me that use TikTok as a search engine. So if there is, younger franchisees that you're looking for, not necessarily like 20s, but 30s, 40s, I think that there's a place for it for sure.
Interesting. And so, Brad, what are you seeing from a search perspective that's been working this year or past years?
Well, one thing that we don't want to forget about is a strongly optimized organic website. So organic search leads are still the best leads for any franchise system. Having a well-optimized website for people who are looking for you is critical. It really goes hand in hand with the search engine marketing. If people are going to do follow-up research and they can't find you organically, they're not going to give you their lead, right? Like if you're not there organically, you're not there. So having a well-optimized website is absolutely critical for franchise acquisition.
Well, what's nice about that too is once you put in the investment, you no longer have to keep paying for every single lead like you do through your ads. So
exactly,
that's a nice benefit too, I would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. And they, like I said, they go hand in hand. So any learnings from your paid search marketing campaign can be applied to your organic website in regards of keywords to target and stuff like that. So and like you said, it's very cost effective once it's done.
Well, and I have to imagine there's some combination of content you're putting into the website to start, your basic stuff about your franchise, of course, but have you been finding that blog creation, content marketing is helpful? I guess that's actually kind of both a SEO and a social question. So are you finding that content marketing is getting you anywhere this year?
Absolutely. So potential candidates are very likely to conduct research on the opportunity. So having a wide range of potential or pertinent content to help close the deal is really good.
And Jen, would you agree from a social perspective? Have you been doing much content marketing for franchise development?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of our clients were doing a couple of franchise blogs per month just to have that organic content ready. And again, if you're able to put some money behind those blog posts, also really, really effective.
Okay. So last question, and probably the most important one, is what do you expect going into next year? So here we are, we're coming up on the middle of November. Everyone's wondering what's going to happen in the first quarter. And I think we all know the first quarter for franchise development and finding new franchisees is really, really important. So what do you expect? Do you expect to see an uptick, a downtick? You expect to see costs go up, go down? Maybe we'll start with Brad on this one.
So we've all seen the AI integrations and stuff like that. So Google has a lot of potential upside in 2024 from targeting from a keyword perspective to the creation of multi-channel campaigns like Performance Max. A lot of things are happening over there. We know competition is going to continue to increase. So leveraging all the tools in the toolkit is going to be really important to staying ahead of the competition.
And Jen, what do you see going into next year?
Yeah, same in terms of, I think AI is going to be huge. I think AI is going to be huge in terms of ad copy creation, creative advice, reporting. I think that's a big thing. I think that on the social side, I don't think anything's going to get cheaper because I think it's increasingly more difficult to target. There's so many privacy issues that Meta and LinkedIn are trying to face and to really, improve their platforms. And I think that's a good thing. It's just going to mean that marketers are going to have to get a little more creative. So I think that's going to be a big issue for a lot of us coming to the new year. And then the other big thing is short form video, and not just TikTok, but Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. We're really seeing a lot of success with short, authentic, lo-fi video. So if you're a franchise brand and you can get some franchisee testimonials that are 15, 30 seconds long, I think we're going to continue to really see some effectiveness with that kind of format.
Okay, so based on everything you're seeing, not to put you both on the spot here, but I think we would all agree that Q1 of 2023 was a little lower than any of us would have liked in terms of overall franchisee interest and volume, particularly coming off 2 hot years, as you both mentioned. What do you expect for the first quarter of 2024? Are we going to see it have higher franchisee volume or the same, or do we expect the economic conditions to continue to wear on people?
On the social side, we're into November, and this is usually when we're telling people to pull back on social, on all social, not just franchise ads. And we're still seeing some really good results on franchise ads. I'm sure it's going to be Black Friday in a couple of weeks. I'm sure that's going to change. But because we are seeing such a longer, a more delayed pullback, It's still, things are doing really, really well. I would expect that, after the holidays, we're going to, continue to do franchise ads and just be up and running in January again. So I think things are going to look pretty good, knock on wood.
And Brad, what do you think?
I would say the same thing on the search side of things. Already, October and November have been fantastic months, and then going into January, we typically do see an increase in cost in January just because of the competition. Everybody is in the marketplace, but it's a great time for volume.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for everyone who listened. I hope you found this entertaining. And we'll be bringing more content like this to you in the next few weeks. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thanks.
Take care.